Hi Mount Vernon, this is Mayor Sean Patterson Howard, and we are here with you for our Tuesday night update. This will be the last time we do the update on a Tuesday night. During the height of COVID, there was so much information to go out that we did our Sundays with Sean and we did Tuesday and Thursday updates. As of next week, we will just go back to doing updates on Wednesdays. And then Sundays with Sean on Sunday. So we'll be doing 2 live updates a week as opposed to 3. If something else changes, we'll let you know. But so welcome. We're really glad to see everyone tonight. It's a beautiful day outside. And I started off phase 2 with a bang. So what does phase 2 mean? There are 4 phases of reopening businesses as part of the COVID recovery that we are going through in New York State. And so the day after Memorial Day, which I believe was May 26th, is when phase 1 began. On Tuesday, May 26th, phase 1 began. And with phase 1, we had manufacturing and construction open. We had a soft opening of retail stores with mostly curbside service. Those were some of the main things that happened in phase 1. Phase 2, which starts today and should last for the next 2 weeks, really focuses on the reopening of real estate offices and being able to show houses, renting and leasing of cars, reopening of some office spaces, and full opening of retail stores. So you're able to go in and buy shoes, buy clothing, and shop as you're used to, and not just doing curbside pickup. So things like Bed Bath and Beyond and TJ Maxx and Macy's and other stores like that are now reopened. One of the big things that people have been waiting for is the reopening of beauty salons and barbershops, hair braiding. So those businesses did reopen today. And another thing that changed is we've been just doing pickup and takeout and delivery from our restaurants. So restaurants are still doing takeout and delivery, but they're also doing outside and rooftop dining. So restaurants that offer outside and rooftop dining, you can go and sit down with friends and family and have a meal and maintain social distancing. So the things that we really want to understand about phase 2 is not just the businesses that are open, but the importance of ensuring that these businesses that we're patronizing are keeping our health and safety at the forefront of how they're doing business in this new COVID environment. COVID has not gone away. We are at a place right now where our numbers are low and we're managing it, and we want to make sure that it stays that way as a vaccine is not yet available. And so in this COVID environment, if you're going to the beauty salon or the barbershop, you want to make sure that as you come in, they're taking your temperature, that they have hand sanitizer and wipes available for everyone that comes in, that everyone that comes in as a customer is wearing a mask, and that everyone in the salon, the hair braiding shop, or in the barbershop is wearing a mask as well as they serve you. These are very close, long time contacts, and it is definitely a high risk practice where COVID can be passed. So you want to make sure that these businesses are not just interested in your business, but they're interested in your health. So make them have a standard. There should also be with the beauty and barber stations, the chairs should be 6 feet apart. So pay attention and make sure that the chairs have a certain distance and that they're not crowding you up one on top of another. And most beauty and barber salons, as well as braiding shops, should be offering appointments, because you don't want the store to be crowded with a lot of people. But if they offer appointments instead, then people know what time to come. And many of the businesses are asking people, if you have an appointment and it's not time for your appointment, that you wait outside in your car, just so that these stores do not get crowded and create additional risk for passing coronavirus. In restaurants, you want to look at places that have similar rules and regulations. Wherever you go, when you go into a business like a restaurant, they should be taking your temperature. You want to make sure that the tables are set at a distance of 6 feet, that all of the servers are wearing masks when they serve you. As people are getting up from tables, you want to pay attention and make sure that they're properly wiping down tables and sanitizing tables in between use. If businesses are not doing that, then you definitely want to speak to the manager on site as well as contact us here at City Hall so that we can address those businesses. Every business is supposed to have a safety plan that they register with the state of New York. And also we're requiring them to register them here with the City of Mount Vernon because we want to make sure that the businesses that are serving our residents are taking every precaution and ensuring the health and the future health of our community. I even went into one barbershop yesterday and they put not necessarily plexiglass, but they built stands that caused divisions in between of each of the barber stations so that there wouldn't be sneezing and coughing going back and forth from one chair or one station to the next. I felt that was very inventive. We even have some of our beauty and barber salons and hair braiders who are also wearing the face shields. So they're not just wearing the masks, but they're also wearing the little plastic face shields that starts here. I don't have one here in my office, but that starts here and it has a shield. Many of you have seen them because they're spending a lot of time in close contact with customers and they want to protect themselves as well as others. I would insist that you require anyone who you're doing business with to make sure that they are protecting your health. So those are some of the things that are happening with phase 2. So we have a resilience and reopening task force that is working to ensure that the businesses are in compliance, that they have their safety plan together. We're visiting different businesses. We make sure that they are doing and practicing social distancing. But then we're also providing supports with our small business task force to a lot of our small businesses here in the city of Mount Vernon. We have been awarded some money through HUD to work with our small businesses. So we're going to be putting those applications out so that we can give grants to some of our small businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19 because we know many of them are struggling. And so we are here to provide technical assistance and support. We will be doing a business Zoom next week with Lehman College and the U.S. Small Business Development Association and a few other partners to really talk to businesses about how to tap in to some of the monies that are available through the New York State Forward Fund. It's $100 million is available through New York State Forward from the governor's office. And this money is for businesses who are, for small businesses that have not been able to get any of the federal payroll protection program loans or the COVID disaster relief funds. These companies are for not-for-profit as well as for-profit businesses, small businesses that have an annual budget of $3 million or less and 20 staff members or less. And you can apply for these monies through the state of New York. And so we really want to work with our businesses locally to teach you how to tap into that money and apply for those monies and provide you with technical assistance. The city of Mount Vernon, through special HUD allocations, and we are still waiting for that money to come in. It's been promised and we're waiting for it to come in. We'll be offering up to about $250,000 in small business support for our small businesses here in Mount Vernon who have been impacted by COVID. We can't do millions of dollars. That's not what we're working with, but we are very aware and very concerned to make sure that we're doing whatever we can locally and helping our businesses access county, state, or federal funding because we want to make sure that our business community is thriving. When our business community thrives, then jobs are created. When jobs are created, people have income to pay their housing. When businesses are open and thriving, then they have money to pay taxes to the city, and the city, that's revenue that can help us run and operate the city. So we're partners in this. All of us have been greatly impacted by COVID, and that's why we have a resilience campaign. And we're talking about resilient. Mount Vernon is strong, but we are a resilient community, and together we're going to make it and we're going to move forward. So in Mount Vernon, as of June 8th, we had 2,646 cases of COVID. but our active cases of COVID in Mount Vernon are less than 40 cases. So we are not necessarily, we are concerned that we want to make sure people continue to practice social distancing and other safety concerns, but we are really excited about the fact 43 active cases. We're really excited about the fact that we have a very small number of active cases here in Mount Vernon. We are working with the Westchester County Department of Health and the county to ensure that any active cases that we have are quarantining at home. We're working with them to make sure that they have food and medical care and mental and emotional supports, because that's been one of the challenges is, you know, people, if they don't have support, they have to get up and go outside and do shopping and things of that nature to take care of themselves. So I'm glad that the county is really partnering with us to make sure that we're able to provide services to people who have active cases of coronavirus so that they can stay home and shelter in place and not put the rest of the community at risk. So these are really important milestones that were not necessarily in place when the epidemic first started. So we've been talking about the reopening of businesses in the community. So let's talk about the reopening of City Hall. We are just waiting on some of our last supplies to come in, because just like the businesses in the community, we have to ensure that we have a healthy health and safety plan, that we are doing social distancing within this building, and that we are making physical changes to the building that are necessary to protect the public when they come in to do business with the city, as well as to protect our employees. So what does that look like? I don't know if you can think back into school, but now we've split our staircases and it's up one side, down another. We have the distance markers in the floor in front of the different offices where people have to go and visit and do business, showing where they have to stand 6 feet apart. We are required to take temperatures of everyone, staff, as well as community members that come into the building. So when we reopen, you will enter on the Stevens Avenue side, which is right across from the municipal parking lot. So that will be the public entrance for the community, and you will have your temperature taken there. It's also a handicap accessible entrance. Staff will enter through another door so that we can take their temperatures, but we will not be utilizing, you know, all of the doors for public access. We will have one main door for the public to come in and go out, and that will be the Stevens Avenue entrance, and we'll keep a track of who's coming in, what your temperature is, and making sure preferably that you have appointments so that people don't have to spend as much time standing in line and waiting in hallways. We want to really minimize the number of people, like we want to do the same thing in businesses that are in the building at any one time, and in protection of public health. So as of next Monday, June 15th, the following departments will be reopening for people to be able to come in and do face-to-face business on site. Like I said before, you should have an appointment first. So the comptroller's office, and the phone number to the comptroller's office is 914-665-2304. So those of you who have not paid your taxes yet, you can come in and pay your taxes. We know a lot of people have been concerned that they've sent in tax payment checks and it's been weeks and maybe a month and a half, 2 months, and they still have not been processed. The law department will also be open, and the number to the law department is 914-665-2366. The city clerk's office, where people get birth certificates, as well, not birth certificates, where you get your marriage license, dog license, taxi license, different business licenses. The city clerk's office will be open, and the number there is 914-665-2351. These are all opening next Monday on the 15th. The registrar's office, or our Office of Vital Statistics, where you get birth certificates and death certificates. We've been open, all of these departments have been opening, doing business kind of in the parking lot as people had to come and get paperwork, but now you'll be able to come in the building and do business face to face. And the registrar's number is 914-665-2356. And the registrar, or vital statistics again, is where you get your birth and your death certificates. The building department, which does a lot of business and making sure that you're able to get permits for your property renovations, for larger development projects, for housing and code enforcement issues and complaints. The buildings department will be reopened, and the number there is 665-2660, 665-2660. The planning department, where we have our large scale developments and a lot of different services, that will be open, and the number there is 914-699-7230. And the water department, of course, many people want to pay their water bills. You can pay them online, but the water department will also be open, and that number is 914-668-7820. So please know that when you come into City Hall, you have to wear a mask. You will have your temperature checked. We ask that you respect social distancing rules while you are doing business on the property of City Hall. Respect the up and down staircases, and the elevators, you are limited to 2 people in the elevator at a time, because the elevator is only but so big, and it's hard to maintain 6 feet away from someone in the elevator. So the elevators are limited to 2 people in the elevator at a time, but you are always welcome to use the step. We wanted to make sure that we spent the time, the money, and the effort to ensure that not only was our staff safe, but that the public felt very safe and welcomed when they come into the building. And that's important with any business that is opening. There are many people who are waiting for businesses to reopen, but they're concerned. People are concerned about their health, and we know that and we understand that. So that's why we encourage you, with any business that you are interacting with and you're going into their business, that you want to let them know that you expect them to use the social distancing. So one of the things that the governor did is that he is allowing churches to increase the number of people that they're serving during services. So churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, they are open, but they can only operate at 25%. So if your church has a occupancy number of 100, then 25 people can come to service. If you have an occupancy of seating for 1,000, then you can have services for 250 people, but you still have to maintain social distancing. So even in churches, they're asking that you don't use big choirs, you're not using choir robes, that you're not leaving Bibles and hymnals in the pews, but that people bring in their own Bibles, and that Bibles are not shared, that offering plates are not sent up and down the aisles, that any type of communion that's done, that people have their own individual communion cup as well as their wafer, and that you're not sharing a chalice and you're not passing communion bread plates around. Even for offering, they're asking that you put an offering box in the front or the back, and people can just drop their offering in it, and have solos or praise and worship teams that are standing at least 12 feet apart. So those are some of the basic recommendations that are there and available for churches. Just know that even here at City Hall, we are constantly sanitizing all of our public buildings. We are still sanitizing the bus shelters and depots and the parks and the areas like that throughout the city. We continue to make sure that we are reducing the potential impact of COVID. And it's very, very important. I know the summer has come and it is hot outside, and masks are hot on your face. I don't care if you're using the blue ones or the KN95s, it's just hot. But we want to still make sure that we're healthy. Now, some people have seen me sometimes without a mask. Well, if I'm not within 6 feet of anyone, then my mask is in my hand. If I'm with a group of people, then my mask is on. If you're in your backyard, if you're going for a walk in the park, you should have a mask, but you don't necessarily have to constantly wear it if you're just going for a walk and you're not within 6 feet of people. So those are some of the recommendations that they're using. But we want people to still be conscious of it. Just because the weather's warm and our coats have come off doesn't mean that our masks should come off. People are asking about playgrounds and when will playgrounds open. Playgrounds will not open until phase 4. Playgrounds will not be opening until phase 4. We are going to try and do some different activities and events for our young people in parks, potentially before then, but playgrounds do not open until phase 4. We are still under a New York state of emergency. I've seen people say, well, you had a protest and you had a rally. Well, what kind of protests are going to happen? Protests are going to happen whether you ask for them to happen or not. Rallies are going to happen whether you ask them to happen or not. But that doesn't mean that we just open up everything else and not take the proper precautions. Summer camp right now in Mount Vernon, as we've said, we're doing virtual activities. The Department of Recreation, please go on their website. Please contact 914-665-2420 because they are doing a lot of online activities for the young people. They're doing online reading. They're doing online arts and craft. They're doing online games and interactive events that kids can do from their home with our recreation staff. We're doing exercise classes online. So we have exercise professionals coming in and they're doing an exercise and people can join in live from your home and participate and interact with people online. So please pay attention to what's happening on the website. Our Youth Bureau, our Summer Youth Employment Program is moving forward, but it will have a virtual platform. We expect to have over 125 kids participating in life skills classes and job training classes and workforce preparedness classes throughout the summer. And speaking with the Boys and Girls Club and with YCOP and some of the other summer camps throughout the area, they are looking to do virtual activities, and YCOP might be able to put together a smaller face-to-face camp. But you can reach out to those organizations if you are interested in doing something. We are working with our staff in the Department of Recreation to plan a Juneteenth celebration. We will get more information out to you on that in the next few days. Because Juneteenth is important for many of us in our community, especially at this time of national civic and racial unrest and the conversation around Black Lives Matter. Juneteenth is going to be an important celebration for our community. I'm just trying to think. Excuse me, guys. You know, I'm sitting here talking to you, and I just want to make sure that I'm getting as much information out to you as possible. So I just talked about the fact that there's a lot of political and civil unrest, and people are having a lot of hard times. We just came out of COVID, and we're not out of COVID, but we've been dealing with COVID now for about 16 weeks, and that's been mentally and emotionally exhausting. And then to turn on your TV and see individuals killed by reckless law enforcement officers is very difficult. And the conversation around race and injustice and systemic racism is back at the forefront of our community and our country. And some have said, well, that's not happening here. Why are people so upset? Well, you may not see a cop be killed, you know, a cop kill someone in your local community, but when you are of brown skin, you know that it is possible and you worry about that. So we can't say that happened in Minneapolis, that happened in Georgia, that happened in Texas, that happened in another community. People are very concerned, and it's very disheartening. It makes you very angry. It makes you bitter. It makes you frustrated. And so we had a rally here last Tuesday here on the steps of City Hall. And we had different speakers from our young people to myself and our police commissioner and the county executive that spoke. We had a lot of people who were very impassioned, who were very angry, who wanted to make sure that people understood that Black lives matter. And until Black lives matter, then no lives matter. You cannot separate a community from itself. And so we are here in Mount Vernon are willing to have the crucial conversations and the courageous conversations, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Um, I've spoken at rallies in Manhattan, here in Mount Vernon, the Bronx, Scarsdale last night, well, on Sunday night, organized a very nice and a very big rally. And, we had some hard conversations about racism and systemic racism and how policing was founded in our country based on slave patrols and then Black codes and then Jim Crow laws. And people might say, well, what does that have to do with now? Because if the very foundation of policing was based on keeping Black people in their place, monitoring their actions, and keeping them unempowered, it's really kind of hard to trust a system that started that way. And just because laws changed doesn't mean that the culture changed. And so, right now, in the New York State Senate and Assembly, as well as in the United States Congress, there are a lot of police reform bills and the conversations around the need for police reform. And so these conversations are now moving past, oh, we just need more training, or we might need body cams. I'm going to share with you what the legislative agenda is right now in the state of New York, in the Assembly, and in the Senate here in the state of New York. So they have put forward, as of yesterday, a police reform package, and many of these different reform bills are passing. So the repeal of 50A. And basically, what is 50A? 50A is a law that has allowed the histories and complaints against individual police officers to be sealed and not shared. And so if there are charges and an officer is involved in abuse of force and might be on trial, 50A protects kind of the complaint history, or what I call the police rap sheet, of individuals who have been involved and had complaints against them. Now, it doesn't mean that all of the complaints are founded and they've been convicted, but it covers the police rap sheet. So that was repealed in the state today. False 911 complaints. We saw calls happening. I can't remember. I don't know, Amy, Patty, Betsy, whatever her name is. We saw her in New York City, and she made a phone call in Central Park because an African-American man told her that she couldn't walk her dog in the bird watching area. And so she made a false 911 call saying that a Black man was being aggressive and attacking her, and she needed them to call police. So with the bill that was passed today, that's a false complaint. It is a felony, and it can be charged as a hate crime. Because if you call the police on a Black person, usually as a non-Black person, and say that this person is hurting you and this is not true, then you're actually putting that person's life at risk. And so now false 911 calls, especially when it's racially based, can be treated as hate crimes. They're asking for an office of a special prosecutor, so that if you have DAs in your community who are not necessarily doing their jobs by charging and prosecuting bad cops in a community, then these cases can be passed on to a special prosecutor. Now, I, for one, am someone who is very much in favor of that. We have at least six cases right now before the county DA's office of cops who have done different things that we're concerned about. And we've been asking for those cases to be prosecuted and to be dealt with and for them to be charged. And absolutely nothing, I'm going to say it one more time, nothing has happened, because DAs, as part of prosecution and law enforcement, have a special relationship with the police. And sometimes, regardless of how egregious an officer's behavior is, even when a police department is requesting support from the DA's office and getting rid of bad cops, you have some DAs who just refuse to do that. And I can tell you that has been our experience here in Westchester as of late. And there's an election in a few weeks. And so I encourage you with this knowledge to move forward and make the best decision. If you're saying that the worst thing that can happen for a good cop is having to work with a bad cop, we're not saying that all police officers are bad, but for those who are bad, we have to make sure that we have partners in place who will address the wrongdoing of officers who might be criminally liable and file charges and be willing to prosecute them. And if you're not going to put that energy into dealing with bad cops, then you're not going to be a good partner to a community. We want the relationships between police and community to be good, and it's very hard to have that when it's very difficult to get rid of bad cops in your community because you don't have a partner who will help you do that. So that's my soapbox for this minute. Local independent oversight of police, so having like a civilian complaint review board, and that's already something that the mayor's office, the police department, and the city council are committed to here in Mount Vernon. We want to make sure that we're picking the right people for the civilian complaint review board, not people who have an axe to grind, but people who are emotionally intelligent, who will review each case. We will provide training to these civilians to make sure that anyone that comes before this complaint review board has a fair chance. Also, they want to make sure that people who are under arrest are getting medical attention. So sometimes in the process of arrest or in a in the process of an arrest or whatever's happening before the arrest, people might need medical attention. And so the police would be required to ensure that that person gets the medical attention they need. And if there's failure to obtain medical attention, then police officers can be charged. It also bans the chokehold. So the chokehold that killed Eric Garner, the chokehold where we saw the knee on the neck for George Floyd, these type of tactics are being outlawed here in the state of New York, and Mount Vernon absolutely supports the same, wanting to make sure that we're reducing arrests for non-criminal activities. And so oftentimes because of stop and frisk or different communities sometimes are over policed, and people are stopped for reasons in one community, in one neighborhood, and they're not stopped several blocks away in another neighborhood. So we want to reduce, really kind of nuisance arrests. We still want to make sure that we're keeping the public safety, but we want to make sure that we're not incentivizing police to arrest people because of their own personal biases. The state and officials are also fighting for expanded use of body cameras, and not only for local law enforcement agencies, but also for the New York State Troopers and the MTA, which manages the trains, the buses, and the Metro North. And the other area that they're speaking about is what they call the Police Stat Act. So you would have to release these statistics on the race, ethnicity, and age and different demographics of the people who are being arrested in a community for a different offense, so that you could see if there's equity. Are there only Black young men being arrested? Is it only Spanish men? Is it only white women who are being arrested for different crimes? And so this information will be made to the public. So there are a lot of things right now that are before our state assembly and Senate that they started voting on yesterday and today, and they will finish voting on this package of police reform tomorrow. We know that there are police reforms being legislated on a federal level as well. So we have to pay attention to this. Peaceful protests and people coming together peacefully to lift their voices, to discuss their pain, their frustration and anger, but not just leaving it at anger and frustration, but are asking for different legislative changes. And we see that there is some progress, but you have to continue to keep the pressure on, because we want to make sure that all of us can live in an equitable community. So, yes, I'm looking at some of I have Danny and Malcolm in the background sending me comments. So we will be doing some drive-in movie theaters here in Mount Vernon through the Department of Recreation. Starting in about 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be doing drive-in movies at different locations. We're going to get that schedule out to you. In July, we will also be starting up our Summer Breeze concert series as long as the numbers continue to stay low. We're not looking just to abandon the community and not do anything. We want to make sure that we are providing free and or affordable entertainment and activities from our young people to our elders here in the city of Mount Vernon. We're just trying to make sure that we find creative and innovative ways to do this to ensure the health and safety of the community. We're seeing, I really need people to watch the news, watch CNN, MSNBC, look at Fox. There are communities across the country that have been reopening before us, and some of them are seeing spikes and high spikes in numbers, and we don't want to see a resurgence. New York, we were hit before anyone else in the country. We didn't know what COVID was. We didn't know how it operated, how it moved, and how it infected. And we were devastated by that in the region. And it caused our communities to be shut down now almost for 3.5 months. Now that we are regaining our health and we're regaining our strength, we want to make sure that we maintain our health, because if we don't maintain the health of this community, trust me, the governor will come and he will shut businesses back down. That means people are out of work. That means tax monies are not coming to the city. That means layoffs. We have to be responsible. As excited as we are about the warm weather, and trust me, I'm excited. I don't know if you could see, I got a little bit of a tan. I like the sun. We want to make sure that we're staying healthy at the same time. Just another bit of information that I had mentioned to the city council last night, and I had mentioned on our board of estimate meeting. If you are trying to buy a home or sell a home in Mount Vernon, it has become very challenging. Not because our housing market is not good. We have an incredible housing market. We have a great housing stock. We are perfectly located. We have great transportation in and around our community. And we have a lot of people who are interested in moving into the community, especially from New York City, to purchase homes, because we have beautiful homes and beautiful backyards. The challenge is when you purchase a home, part of your closing costs involve something that they call transfer taxes. And transfer taxes have to be paid locally to the comptroller, and they process them and give receipt to the attorneys or to the individuals that are purchasing or selling their homes. Our comptroller's office has been failing to process the transfer taxes. And because she has not been processing, and this is not an attack. People say, why are you attacking the comptroller? There's a difference between an attack and factual information. And so I'm sharing with you factual information. So if you know someone who's trying to buy or sell a home here, if you are someone who's trying to buy or sell a home here, and you start shopping for what they call title underwriters, it's going to be very difficult for you to find one. 5 of the major title companies in our region and who do a lot of business here in Mount Vernon are suspending their business operations here in Mount Vernon because of the comptroller's failure to process transfer taxes. So the following companies have pulled out and suspended their business operations in Mount Vernon, and that is Old Republic, WFG, which stands for Williston Financial Group, Stewart Title, Judicial, and Benchmark Title. These are major players. That's kind of like Chase and Bank of America saying that they're not going to do business with the city of Mount Vernon and any of its residents. So, we're getting calls from residents who are in the process of selling their house, and that whole process has been stalled because they can't get their transfer taxes processed. We're getting calls from real estate brokers who are saying, the real estate market is open and we're in the process of selling houses, but we can't finalize the purchasing and the selling of these houses because of the issues with the transfer taxes and us having a hard time finding a title company. So I just want people to know that we are really working on this issue. Our head is not in the sand. We are dealing with some difficult personalities, but we are focused and we are doing what we can to take care of Mount Vernon residents. There was a question. So 50A was just officially repealed. So 50A was repealed in the state assembly and Senate today. So 50A, just going back to that, is saying now that the history of complaints against police officers who are on trial for something can be shared and can be revealed. And so 50A was just repealed. And I know for those who are in support of criminal justice reform are very happy about it. Again, and I can't say this enough. I don't care. All my life, I've been a social justice advocate. I've worked in and around the criminal justice system and public safety, whether it was for courts or having funding through the State Division of Criminal Justice Services, the Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Programs, working with high impact drug trafficking areas, different federal law enforcement and state and county law enforcement. I've worked with so many incredible law enforcement officers, and I've seen some bad ones. And so I want you to know, as mayor, having a police department, I'm not bashing the police, but what I am concerned about is bad police. And so we, along with myself and Commissioner Scott, are going to continue to make sure that in serving this community, that we make sure anyone who is serving this community is respectful of our residents. We have to enforce the law. We have to make sure that public safety is a priority here in Mount Vernon, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we are not violating civil rights and human rights at the same time, because that's just going to cause a decline in the public safety and a lack of trust here in Mount Vernon. So to that end, yesterday we had an exciting day here in the city of Mount Vernon. We have Commissioner Glenn Scott, who is a wonderful commissioner, and he came in January with a major, really big passion for doing community policing and making sure that we improve and strengthen the relationship between police and community, which also really helps to strengthen public safety, because people will not come forward to tell things to a police department that they don't like and they don't trust. And so when the police and the community have good, respectful and trusting relationships, then people share more information that helps in the prevention and the solving of crimes. Unfortunately, a lot of the different initiatives that we wanted to start in the beginning of the year were derailed by COVID. But with COVID kind of not being at crisis levels right now, we're able to turn our attention back to some of our community policing efforts. And as of yesterday, we promoted Marcel J. Oliviers, and he is our new chief of police. So congratulations to Chief Oliviers of the Mount Vernon Police Department. He is a 32-year veteran of the Mount Vernon Police Department, and he's had a stellar career. And we're glad to be able to put him in one of the top leadership positions within the city. He's respected by most of his peers, and I say that because no one is going to like everyone is never going to like one person. So he's respected, he's well respected, and he's done the job. And so we say congratulations, Chief Oliviers. We promoted Sergeant Charlotte Neal Young to the office of Lieutenant. Congratulations now, Lieutenant Charlotte Neal Young. Charlotte Neal Young is a 25-year veteran of the Mount Vernon Police Department, and she is now the commanding officer for the Support Services Division. So congratulations, Lieutenant Charlotte Neal Young. We also saw another promotion in public safety. Our Chief of Operations, Robert Odendo, was moved from captain within the fire department to deputy chief. And he has been serving as our Chief of Operations since January. And he has 15 years of service to the Mount Vernon Fire Department. So congratulations, Deputy Chief Odendo / Chief of Operations. Congratulations. And then also our Reverend Dr. Darren Morton was promoted from Planning Commissioner to Chief of Staff for the city of Mount Vernon. And he's been with Mount Vernon for 8 years, but has a stellar history of management and executive leadership and academia before coming to Mount Vernon about 8.5 years ago. So congratulations, Reverend Dr. Darren Morton. These promotions are really going to help us continue to improve our public safety. These are professionals, they are subject matter experts, they are executives, they know how to lead, and these will increase not only the public safety, but also in efficiency and delivery of services in police and fire, as well as in the city of Mount Vernon, as Chief Morton will serve as my second, and we'll work with all of the departments throughout the city to ensure that we have efficiencies of services, that departments are partnering together, and that we are staying focused on the work. He is an excellent partner in leadership here in the city of Mount Vernon, and I'm just glad to have our Chief Oliviers, our Lieutenant Charlotte Neal Young, our Chief of Operations Odendo, and our Chief of Staff, Reverend Dr. Darren Morton. So congratulations to each of them. So Mount Vernon Hospital is still open because people are always asking, and they're concerned that with COVID getting a little better right now that we're going to lose the hospital. We are still fighting to keep our hospital open. We are not giving up on that fight. I did meet with the president and CEO of Montefiore Hospital last week. We had a nice initial face-to-face discussion. There are many more conversations to be had, data to be looked at, strategies to assess to ensure that Mount Vernon residents are not being shortchanged by Montefiore or any other system who's looking to do business here in the city of Mount Vernon. And so the office of the mayor, the city council, our legislative leadership in Lyndon Williams, as well as David Tubiolo, our state delegation of Assemblyman Pretlow, Senator Bailey, and Senator Biaggi, we are all working closely together. And our national delegation, well, at least our Congressman Engel, has also been very, very active in leading the fight with us to keep Mount Vernon Hospital open. We know that Mount Vernon is a medically underserved community, and we need a full service hospital. And so when I say keep Mount Vernon open, we're not only looking to save Mount Vernon Hospital, but we're looking to transform it and make it a world-class quality medical institution here in the city of Mount Vernon. We saw that when COVID came, medical services around the region were stretched, and we want to make sure that we have not only accessible medical services, but that we have top rate and quality medical services for the residents here in Mount Vernon. Our residents deserve no less than our surrounding cities, and we want to make sure that we are working with a partner and that we continue to bombard the governor's office, the State Department of Health, and others so that they hear that Mount Vernon needs not only a hospital, but we need a quality hospital. So I think, unless there are any other questions from the audience, Malcolm, I don't know if you are seeing a lot of questions, because I can't see the questions right now because I can only see this screen, but I don't know if there are other questions and things that I have to talk about. Here we go. When can volunteers return back to the animal shelter? The animal shelter is still closed to public and volunteers. So the city of Mount Vernon will be opening fully, like I stated just a little bit ago, on the 22nd of June. So we have a soft opening on the 15th, and on the 22nd, we will be opening. I would really encourage you to reach out to the animal shelter and the police department. The animal shelter is under the supervision of the police department. Reach out to them. You should probably reach out to Lieutenant Charlotte Neal Young, because the animal shelter falls under the Support Services Division of the police department, and she should be able to provide you with better information, and that's something I will check on. Jerry Christiani wants to know, when will our seniors return to the Armory and the Dole Center? They are anxious to be involved once again with all the activities. So recreation centers, cultural centers, parks, playgrounds, gyms, fitness centers, all of those are not scheduled to begin to reopen until phase 4. So phase 4, we anticipate if everything goes well in phase 2, and in phase 3, each phase is spaced out 2 weeks from each other. So we anticipate phase 4 starting right after the 4th of July. So look somewhere around July 7th. And that's the first possible time that we can open facilities like the Dole Center and the Armory. But Jerry, just so you know, and I'm sure you already know this, our recreation staff and our aging staff are reaching out to our seniors. We are continuing to deliver meals to many of them. We are reaching out and doing mental and emotional wellness checks. We've connected many of them to online platforms so that they can do exercises and arts and craft and Zoom with each other and have a way to connect during this time of isolation and with many of our outlets being closed. Trust me, I know it is very difficult. Those of us who are out working every day, we come to work and then you kind of just go home. You don't have your outlets. Many people haven't had their outlets of church. They haven't been able to go to restaurants, their favorite watering hole, go to movies, go shopping, things of that nature. And that's not the way that we're used to living. We're very social people. And so this has been a very difficult time. We know that people are really, really anxious to get back to life as usual, as normal. But the phased reopening of the community is necessary because we have to know, what might cause an outbreak. And if we open everything all at once, then we don't know what's causing the outbreak. So that's why you're seeing the phased reopening of businesses, and cultural events and activities and recreational events are the last things that will open. And as I stated, that will happen as early as July 7th. Mary Kingsley, would you support a change in the city charter to make the comptroller an appointed position rather than elected? It could be a mayoral appointment with the advice and consent from the city council. It would go hand in hand with a charter revision that would require quarterly accounting of funds and annual outside audits. Mary, in meeting with the Charter Review Committee, I absolutely support that. I do believe that the time has come and gone for an elected comptroller here in the city of Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is one of the only communities left in the state of New York with an elected comptroller. I do believe that it is an appointment that should be made by the mayor, but with the advice and consent of council. A lot of people are concerned about the mayor having absolute power. We've seen some corruption. We've seen bad management in Mount Vernon. I'm not expecting that, but I can't just make rules and laws that are going to satisfy me while I'm mayor. We have to make rules and laws that whoever the next mayor is and the mayor after that, that we will have good checks and balances in place. And so, a mayoral appointment of someone with the advice and consent of the council is something that I definitely could support. One of the biggest challenges that we have right here in Mount Vernon now is that we do not have a comptroller who is willing to work with anyone. And so she's been in office for 29 months, but has not provided any fiscal reports, year-to-date reports, quarterly reports, annual reports to the office of the mayor or to the city council. And anyone that works in any company in any level of management position knows that in order to do a good job in managing the finances of your organization, you have to understand what the revenues are and what the expenses are. You can't run your household if you don't know how much money is coming into your house and how much money is leaving your house. And unfortunately, that's the situation that we are in here in Mount Vernon right now. I'm still waiting to get online access to bank accounts. I was told that a password was being sent to me. Haven't seen that yet. I don't have access to bank statements. And like I said, we've received no no monthly, quarterly, or annual accounting of revenues and expenses, which should come out of the comptroller's office as the chief fiscal officer. And so we don't do those reports. That is the job of the comptroller, but yet she's not doing that. And so the other part of Mary's question is, Is there any news on the inability to obtain title insurance at this time in Mount Vernon because the comptroller is not supplying what the title companies need? This will adversely affect not only real estate companies, but also homeowners. And so, Mary, maybe before you started watching, if you can go back, I did speak about the fact that we have 5 title companies have pulled out of doing business in Mount Vernon right now, and I'll go over them again. Old Republic, WFG, which is Williston Financial Group, Stewart Title, Judicial Title, and Benchmark Title. Like you said, houses cannot be purchased or sold without title underwriters, and because the comptroller is not processing transfer taxes, these companies have pulled out. So yes, it's not only impacting the real estate market, but it is also impacting homeowners and potential homeowners in the city of Mount Vernon. So I will say again, if you are a homeowner who is experiencing challenge with this, if you are a realtor who this is impacting those who you are trying to serve, we encourage you to please reach out to us here at the Office of the Mayor, reach out to the City Council. You can send us an email. We'd rather you just send us an email that's clearly documenting with your challenges. Send that to mayorsph@CMVNY. We're compiling a package of these because for us, this is not political. This is not political, but it is hurting, and we are in a place where our community is being held hostage financially. We're not looking to be reckless with spending of money. There are checks and balances should be in place, but when nothing is happening, that's a problem. So, Denisha Griffiths, how does one get involved with the Civilian Complaint Review Board? And so I guess we are finalizing, and we'll be finalizing all of the legislation and things for that. And then there will be an opportunity for people to submit their names. We'll ask for people to submit their names. There might be other people that we know who have been involved in the justice system in one way or another. Whoever we put on this review board, we want to make sure that these are people who are emotionally mature, that they have a passion for justice, but they also don't have just an axe to grind. We want to put together a fair board that is going to be well trained and who is going to look at different complaints based on the merit of the case and be able to come to a conclusion and a resolution. So we're not looking to create some type of lynch mob for the police. And at the same time, we're not looking to create a board that is just going to turn their head the other way and be a rubber stamp and say that no one in the police department ever does anything wrong. So we are looking for a fair and balanced approach to this work that we are doing. So Malcolm, Danny, are there any more questions? I'm not seeing any more in the Q&A. So there are no more. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone. Be safe, enjoy the warm weather, continue to wear your mask, continue to social distance, and even as you're having family gatherings and cookouts at your home, please be mindful of maintaining safety precautions and things of that nature. And the last thing that I want to say, Mount Vernon, I know that the warm weather is coming. And we know that the 4th of July is coming, but please stop it already with the fireworks at midnight. Stop. It's rude, it's disrespectful. And I'm also asking people, we are going to start enforcing noise ordinances because, no, we understand you can't go to the club, but your backyard and your house is not going to become the club either. You're not going to be disrespectful to your neighbors and just blast music all night long on weeknights and on weekends. So please do not be surprised when the police department starts pulling up to your home if you are being disrespectful of your neighbors and writing you tickets. And we will work with the judiciary to make sure that these things are enforced. It is disrespectful, it is unprofessional, and it is unneighborly for you to be playing your music at loud levels beyond a certain time, whether it is the weeknight or the weekend. If you are entertaining people in your backyard, then entertain the people in your backyard, not people who are 4 and 5 backyards away. So please know that we will pull up and we will give you a ticket and we will make sure that it's enforced. And I say that with a big smile because it's not personal, but it's business. I'm not mean, but I have no problem doing the things that are necessary to maintain a respectful environment and community for everyone here in the city. People who complain about noise are not saying, they're not stiff. But if you want to play loud music, do it inside your house and close your windows. But don't put big speakers in the backyard and start a block party. If you haven't asked for a block party and you don't have a permit to do a block party, then please know that your neighbors don't necessarily want to hear your music. So everyone, thank you so much. Really, really have a great one and have a blessed night. Take care and stay safe.